Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Is anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? We can't close the public hearing on this one, can we? No.
Yeah, let's keep it open
We have to
pending
do
the county
that.
planning
We
board's
have to find a
referral.
recommendation.
And as Paul mentioned, people can submit comments either to him or to Tracy through the end of the month if they've reviewed the code, have comments, questions, concerns. And then the goal is for a final draft to be presented back to the board within 10 days of your next meeting, so that you have the full 10 days before you may act on it, which is the legal requirement.
I think I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
I can see the frustration in Dr. Carroll's mind. My comments before were pretty sarcastic about stimulus money to pay for lots more administrative stuff. I think Wayne kind of laughed at me before when I was listening to some people who came in front of us a year ago and asked for guidelines because they wanted to get started. And I said, yeah, but we've been fooling around for quite a while and we're not started yet. And I went to Home Depot to get pictures and paint samples, and I said, could we pick from some already established, information? But we have gone along this path. And I guess I'm more of a, let's get going. Let's do this. Let's not mull it over and chew on it forever. And I'm looking at you, Heather. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just trying to voice something that's kind of been inside me all along. This is all, good stuff happening for Brewerton, but
And I think you're finally there. This is it.
okay, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm the person I am because I don't like lots of people telling me, I want this purple. No, I want it lavender. No, I want it, teeny tiny blue, or, big. As an Independence Party person, that is exactly what's going on. Less government interfering in our lives and things like that. A guideline is good, but I have to say that I kind of felt cringy as we went on and on and on. I'm really glad it's done now. If it is done now, I think I'm hearing it's not done now, but I feel Dr. Carroll's pain because that kind of on and on and on thing makes me very nervous, gives me agita.
Well, I think we could agree that no small business owner should have to come before us and with this amount of frustration and to develop a business, to make, to reinvest in the community. You shouldn't have to experience that. The question is, how can the process be made easier? And perhaps that's something that can be done between now and when we close the public hearing.
Well, and what I would hope is that once the regulations are adopted, we won't be in the limbo phase where we know they're coming, but they're not in law yet, which is certainly a fraction or a part of what I think Dr. Carroll faced, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think that was part of his concern, that he was trying to comply with something that wasn't the law yet and wasn't in its final form yet.
And perhaps as part of the process, when this is implemented, a developer or a future developer can be given, this is what's expected of you, actually right up front.
Exactly, and that's why the committee decided to set it up as it is, as a standalone document that can be handed out by itself as a portion of the zoning code without it being dispersed in all different parts of your zoning code. It is a standalone document, so hopefully it will be a little bit easier for people to review and look at.
The other part of that, which makes me feel uneasy, has to do with how you spent a ton of time putting together the master plan, and then we only adopted it. We only accepted it. We didn't adopt it. So it's not a document that people can rely on. Everybody can come in front of this board and ask for an exception, and bingo, they get it. And what we've spent a lot of money on, and time and effort and talking and trying to get it squared away, we didn't take it to you know,
This one is
to
going to be
make it.
adopted by local law, though.
Yeah, but he said this, we're only having guidelines.
No,
No.
no.
Well, like my comment about paint to the planning board. He said it's only, like, these are suggestions. I know, it's making me very nervous that this is a guideline, but it's not what we're gonna do, for sure. Somebody doesn't really wanna do it.
Specifically with the color, it's a guideline, because color is a very difficult subject. Oh, thank you. Specifically with the color, that is a guideline, and because colors are, they're debatable, but everything else in there is very clearly, hopefully spelled out, from roof types, roof materials. If you go through that, there are standards, and the plan was the first step. The zoning code is what you can enforce, you can actually implement that plan with. It's one part of it. And then the next is building the infrastructure. So you are getting there, and you're going in a sequence that you should be going through. So.
And we would be adapting this, and I just want to make one comment on the accepting versus adapting. When the town accepted the master plan, if we're looking at a growing town of 29, 30,000 people, we are right in the middle of new development when this plan was accepted several years ago, 2-3 years ago. That was the way to go, because it's a document which can be modified to some extent in certain portions, and you're not locked in by adapting it. So that was the premise and the reasons why there was acceptance of that rather than adoption, in my thought process. I just wanted to say that.
Just a short comment, Charlotte, as far as when they asked for recommendations for colors, I was at La Piazza's the other day for lunch in North Syracuse, and the reason why you want colors that work with each other is because as I looked out the front window, there was a building there painted pink. There were other buildings that were painted browns and shades that work together, but as I look down Main Street, there's a pink building, and that's what we're trying to avoid up there.
Is that the one that's remodeled by the realty service?
No, it's
That's
an eye doctor.
Yeah, doctors, the eye
Whatever it
doctors.
is.
Oh, there's an eye doctor whose
Eye
building
doctors,
is
so you
pink.
can see her building is pink.
So that's what you're trying to avoid.
But
I know, but I was just looking at 200 people coming to the planning board to get the approval of, you know, brick red for their building, or brown or green.
And I don't think that's a real issue. I don't think if you told Dr. Carroll he had to paint it a certain color, you probably would paint it any color at this point. You know.
I was told we had a palette to select from, and that's okay with me because I don't want pink. But I just don't want a door where I get a flow of patients in my house.
My only comment is just thanks for everybody being patient. I would rather be digging dirt 2 years ago, but you know what? We can't. There's rules and regulations that you have to follow. Some people want it, if this was a private project, you could have started yesterday. But when you work with federal and state money, it's slow, extremely slow. And people actually think that you aren't doing anything. Believe me, when it starts, you'll see some dramatic changes in Brewerton.